Good afternoon. I'm gonna get a shot clock up here in the.
You never. It's obviously Dr. Romer made you.
Well, the president and Dr. Romer are very good examples, and I thought I'd follow their lead, Chuck. I want to do two quick announcements, and then I will turn this over to Dr. Romer, the chair of the President's Council on Economic Advisors, to talk about the economic report to the president. The first announcement earlier today, President Obama called to congratulate President-elect Laura Chinchilla of Costa Rica for her recent electoral win. The president reaffirmed his commitment to working in close relationship with Costa Rica on issues of mutual interest, including clean energy, climate change, and security, for the benefit of both countries and for the people of the Americas. Secondly, on February 18th, the president will meet with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The meeting will take place in the Map Room here at the White House. The Dalai Lama is an internationally respected religious leader and spokesman for Tibetan rights, and the president looks forward to an engaging and constructive dialogue.
Any coverage of that?
I don't have that yet. That is the best place that the president felt and the team here felt for the meeting to take place.
Diplomatic considerations.
Pardon me?
Diplomatic considerations.
How so?
In deciding not to have it in the Oval Office.
No presidents met with the Dalai Lama in the Oval Office. Now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Christy Romer, who will talk to you a little bit about the economic report that the president will sign in about 20 minutes. So.
All right, well, it is a pleasure to be with you all. You have to know that for chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, there's no bigger day than the day that her first economic report of the president comes out. So that is what brings me here. I think for anyone who's not a devoted fan of the economic report, I thought it'd be helpful to give just a little bit of background. So the Employment Act of 1946 set up the Council of Economic Advisors to bring the best professional advice to the president on economic matters. It also mandated said it was the role of the federal government to promote maximum employment, production, and purchasing power, and that every year the Council of Economic Advisors and the president were to submit a report to Congress saying how we were doing. And so this year's economic report is the 64th, I believe, in this line of classics. Each economic report does three things. It talks about the challenges, the economic challenges that we face as a country. It talks about what policies were put into place in the previous year and how they worked. And it lays out the president's economic agenda going forward. I think, I like to think that this year's economic report is particularly important, not because of me, but because of the times that we are facing. I think if you think about the economic challenges that we face, there's probably not for a very long time been as great a set of economic challenges. And of course, these span all the way from, of course, the immediate crisis, right? When we came in, if you remember back to a year ago, we were losing close to 800,000 jobs a month. Real GDP was plummeting. Our financial system was certainly very stressed, and there were real questions about what would be happening. Right? But we also know that there was a reason that the president had run for president on a lot of economic issues even before the economic crisis. Things like stagnating incomes for middle-class families, soaring health care costs, the fact that as an economy we were failing to invest adequately in educating our children for the jobs of the future, investing in innovation and other things that would help us to grow faster over time. Right? So I think that certainly makes this volume particularly important to document the challenges that we face. The second thing that I think is so important about the volume is to put down in one place all of the economic actions that we've taken. Right? And it's not a surprise. By far the longest chapter in the economic report is on the rescue, just simply because this was an economy in terrible crisis. But it really goes through laying out not just the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, but what the Federal Reserve did, all of the policies for financial stability, our housing program. But then it also goes through the policies put in place in a lot of other areas. I think it's so easy when we're all caught up in thinking about what's going to happen with the health care reform bill that is, before the House and the Senate, to remember back that we passed the reauthorization of the Children's Health Insurance Program that brought health insurance coverage to an additional 4 million children. And we just go through all of those kind of accomplishments. We're in the middle of doing financial regulatory reform. Let's remember we passed the credit card bill last spring to try to deal with some of the consumer issues there. And so it really is in one place getting a sense of the tremendous amount that has been accomplished. And then, of course, it lays forward the president's economic agenda. And here, I think one thing that is, so important to keep in mind, as an economist, the way we think about economic policy is, what is the problem going on in the private market that creates a role for government? And so talking through what are some of the market failures in innovation? What are some of the market failures present in our healthcare system that give a role for government? What's the motivation behind the president's agenda? But I think one of the things, again, it's so helpful to see the agenda as a coherent whole. And I think it does paint a picture of a very well-reasoned, very important agenda for moving this economy forward. In terms of themes, I think it will sound very familiar to you. It's one certainly that the president has talked about, rescue. There are 2 chapters, both on what we've done in the United States, what's been done in other countries. There are 3 chapters in what I like to refer to as the rebalancing. This is what the president often refers to as getting away from bubble and bust and thinking about how are we going to grow more healthfully going forward. And that is things like we're pretty sure that consumers are probably going to be saving more in the future, and that's probably a good and healthy thing. But it raises a question of, well, where's the demand going to come from? And so the president has talked about the importance of spurring investment, the importance of spurring exports as a way of making sure that there's demand to keep people employed. There's, of course, the budget deficit. That's a big part of the rebalancing, that at the same time we're going to spur investment, we're going to spur net exports. We do need to put in place a plan for getting our long-run budget deficit under control. And here I think that the economic report has a very nice chapter about where our long-run deficit problem came from, about what the reason that one would be concerned about it, what it does to the economy, the logic for the kind of fiscal anchor that we have talked about, or the fiscal target that's talked about in the budget, and our concrete proposals for dealing with it. I'd also put in the end of bubble and bust, financial regulatory reform. And there's a very nice chapter talking about where financial crises come from, what financial intermediation is and why it's important, and the logic of the administration's financial regulatory reform proposal. And then finally, there are 4 chapters on what the president often refers to as rebuilding the economy stronger, that wanting to make sure that when we come out of this crisis, we don't just go back to where we were, but to something better. And that is exactly healthcare, education, the transition to clean energy, and spurring innovation and trade. All of those are things that we think can make the economy stronger going forward. The last thing I'll mention, just in case you're wondering what's unique about this, the 64th economic report of the president, come back to the idea, well, that true. But I think much more than that is, it is the times that I think that it is the time when economic issues are so incredibly pressing, and I think that makes it special. I think methodology is somewhat different. One of the hallmarks, I think, of the Obama administration is the reliance on evidence. I often say that you win a policy argument not by shouting the loudest or talking the most, but by having the best arguments. And I think that is a tribute to this president and this policy process. And so in this economic report, we try to put forward the good arguments for the policies that have been proposed. There's some original research in here, and there are also, for the first time, references. So you can see the studies that are behind some of the things that we have been thinking about. And the last thing I'll say is it's prettier than ever before. So first time it's been printed in color. It's going to be the first time staying with our accessibility and transparency. It will be available in electronic form for your Kindle and your Sony reader and whatever. So, everybody on the beach will be reading the economic report of the president. All right. So, you want to take it from here, Robert?